Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's March 12th, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery, and you can see British Columbia, Washington, Oregon. See the cold air cumulus streaming into the region right now, keeping things showery and cool. But if you look out across Pacific, you can clearly see our ridge developing out over the ocean here. This is going to reach out, move up over the Pacific Northwest, warm us up, and dry us out. We'll look at those details as we go through the video here this morning. Looking at closer view of things, you can see the Doppler radar overlaid here. All the cold air cumulus still yet to go. Thunderstorm potential, can't rule out a lightning strike or two, and maybe a little bit better chance across some of the eastern portions near Spokane, Washington, Idaho Panhandle, and Montana as well. Looking at the winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings, we've still got some snowfall ongoing across the higher terrain that should be wrapping up by the time we go to tonight into tomorrow morning. Just a heads up for those winter driving conditions. Thunderstorms this afternoon and evening, Spokane National Weather Service, and you can see the impacts, of course, lightning, gusty winds, and small hail. Now, taking a look at the composite reflectivity, this is what the Doppler radar may look like as we go through the day today. There's about 10 a.m. there. And as we scroll through this afternoon, you can see the shower activity kind of increase at times. Some robust cells out here across eastern Washington might have more than one lightning strike associated with them. So eyes on the sky today out there, especially eastern Washington, maybe even Ritzville, Spokane out there. And you can see the convergent zone activity that's going to be set up as we go through this afternoon for some of the Puget Sound region as well. And that'll slide back into the Cascades as we go through tonight and finally come to an end, and then we start to wrap up that shower activity as we go through the day tomorrow, and we really start to dry out, and we're going to start to warm up by the time we get towards Thursday, Friday, and on in through this weekend. Here's day one thunderstorm outlook. You can see it does include western Washington, does include Portland here and some of northwest Oregon, and then as you go towards Spokane, maybe Ritzville there, Idaho, and western Montana, eastern Oregon, Idaho, there is a thunderstorm potential, and you can't rule out a strike for BC as well. Now looking at 700 millibar temperatures here, so you can clearly see that cold air aloft moving across the region, but you'll also see it kicking through as we go through the day tomorrow. Then you see our monster ridge start to build up over the region here. You can imagine this clockwise flow, this big dome of high pressure is going to set up shop here across Pacific Northwest, and our cold air aloft is going to be a distant memory here shortly. Looking at significant wave height, we are expecting a bit of a bump here as we go through the day today, but then we start the slow, gradual wane in our wave heights off the coastal areas here as we go to Thursday, Friday, on in through Saturday and Sunday this weekend. You'll definitely notice the lack of wave height out there. Looking at day 1 through 3 overall winter storm impacts, much of this is tonight into tomorrow morning, and then we're going to be wrapping up that preset. But watch out if you're going across some of the higher terrain off through Idaho, Montana, the Cascades, Washington, Oregon, some of the higher terrain of Oregon today as well. But that should, again, be wrapping up by tomorrow. If we look at the snow depth in inches, this is the European. So I just want to kind of show you as we go on into this weekend, you can kind of see the reduction of the snowpack scheduled to take place here. Of course, we're going to warm things up aloft quite a bit. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't damage it too badly here. We were starting to catch up a bit here across Washington and BC, but we're probably going to fall behind pretty significantly so over the next few days. Now, looking at the 500 millibar heights, you got Alaska, British Columbia, Washington, Oregon here. You got the European on the left, the GFS on the right. So let's put this into motion. There goes our system swinging through, quickly replaced by this ridge. Good model agreement between the GFS and the European here, and then this kind of just hangs out with us here as we go through the weekend, and then the models start to show the ridge maybe breaking down at some point as we go in towards the mid portion of next week. Another trough starts setting up here as we get the ridge up over the Gulf of Alaska. This may allow for some systems to start to roll through here. We'll continue to watch that day by day. Right now it's still a little ways out, and this forecast is most likely going to change in the timing of it, so we'll continue to watch that as we go. If we look at last night's European run, there goes our system swinging through today. Then we get the ridge of high pressure, storm track well up north into Alaska here. We really warm up and dry out. And then you can kind of see some Arctic air trying to move down across some of the Northwest Territory here down through Alberta. And it might help spawn the system here and develop this trough on the Pacific Northwest. That's on in through next week. So that's something we'll be watching here over the next few days. You know, it is March. You know, that ridge wasn't going to hang around forever, but it does look like maybe a 3, 4, even a 5-day stretch of some warm weather here across Pacific Northwest, and we'll start to take a look at that now with the National Blend of Models. Here's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we start to bump those temperatures. Look at Friday, a very nice day across much of the region. Saturday, we could get some 70-degree readings out there, even Southwest BC warming up quite nicely, eastern Washington as well. Look at Sunday, another very warm day, Monday potentially as well. And then we're not sure, and we'll see how long that ridge hangs out and how warm are we going to stay as we go through next week. When we start to get some systems, obviously we're going to chop down those temperatures. Looking at Seattle right now, this time of year, we're about 54 degrees. So we're going to be maybe 15 plus degrees above normal for a couple of days coming up here. I don't know if we're going to get some of these record highs that were set back in 1947, but we could approach them here. So we'll watch that closely. You can see 72, 72, and 71. There's an outside chance we might reach some of that. Maybe hit a daily high. We'll see how that goes. But the probability of 2-meter temperature equal to or exceeding 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's put this into motion. This is Thursday. There's Friday. Check it out. Saturday. A lot of the region is going to see some very warm temperatures, especially for this time of year. And then Sunday again here. So interesting stuff. We're going to definitely warm out, and there's not going to be much precipitation, at least through the early portion of next week. And if we look at 850 millibars, this kind of gives you a good diagram here of what's going on. You can see our system swinging through now. There's that ridge that we talked about, and you could see it on the infrared satellite imagery. If I back up, you can see the ridge developing, spinning the anticyclone right over top of us here by the time we go in towards Friday, and kind of setting up shop for a few days. So that's how that ridge looks like. That's what the temperatures look like at 5,000 feet. Now, looking at Seattle, you can see it looks like 1, 2, 3 very warm days coming up, and maybe a fourth one, depending on how long that ridge hangs out. But you can see some days approaching 70 degrees. It's going to be quite glorious, and it looks like it's going to be happening on the weekend as well. So that will make for quite the scene here across some of the areas of the Pacific Northwest. And if we look here at Quilly Airport on the northwest Washington coast, you can clearly see the lower heights at 500 millibars at 18,000 feet, and then the big ridge start to build here. You can clearly see it, and you can see the very warm temperatures aloft at 5,000 feet associated with that big ridge. And if we look here at the soundings for Quilly, the record high for this time of year is about 580, and it looks like we might get towards 579. If I back up one there, you can kind of see the 580 mark there. So we're getting close to some of the highest 500 millibar heights for this time of year, and that means ridge strength. Now, taking a look at Spokane, you can see 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 warm days coming up. Astoria, even all the way to the coastal areas. Some areas might get up towards 70 degrees. Check it out. And here's Eugene, some nice warm days coming up. Brookings, Oregon here. So some of these temperatures could be overdone depending on where the compression winds. If sometimes these temperatures get really underdone here, and you can end up getting an 80-plus degree day out of this, that offshore wind down there across southwest Oregon. 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, above average much of the west coast. 6 to 10 day precipitation as well. 8 to 14 days, still that above average signal. And then just a sliver there for the 8 to 14 day precipitation. We'll continue to watch that as we go, because you saw that trough trying to show its face as we go through next week, actually. And here's the snowpack. We're still behind across Washington, a lot of Idaho and Montana. British Columbia not doing too hot. Oregon's doing quite well, but we're probably going to significantly drop these numbers as we warm up over here over the next few days. So anyway, you can see the ridge right there on the infrared satellite imagery. There goes our trough with our cool showery weather today. Watch out for that convergence zone, mainly north of Seattle, but you can't rule out a couple lightning strikes with that. Some of these showers could produce some lightning strikes, eastern portions of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana as well. So and also watch out for the winter driving conditions all the way through tomorrow morning. Expect some snow and ice potentially on some of the pass areas. So have your heads up for that. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.